He is the only true heir to my throne. I must take him back. That day, the Alpha King descended upon our remote little pack with his royal soldiers. He pointed at Jasper, the man I had saved a year ago in the wilderness, my fated mate, and with those words he shattered my entire world. I remember feeling this tight knot in my chest, because I'd always known Jasper was different. When I'd saved him from falling off that cliff last winter, I could feel something about him. I guessed it was his alpha blood, but I wasn't totally sure back then. Now his secret was out in the open. And me? I was still scrubbing dishes in the corner, because that was an Omega's duty, while everyone else cheered and celebrated. But Jasper, he stayed calm. He looked the Alpha King dead in the eyes and said, "I'm taking my pup Liam and Amelia back to the Shadowfang pack." Yes, Amelia. Not me. In my last life, only their favorite she-wolf, Amelia, also the beta's daughter, got to leave with them. When I broke down and asked Jasper why, his answer was cold and simple. "Her status suits me better than yours." And just like that, my mate and my pup abandoned me. But this time, when Jasper spoke those same words again, under the mocking stares around me, I took a deep breath, forced a smile, and whispered my blessing. "Oh well, I wish you both a happy future. I still have work to do." I had already made up my mind. I was gonna work hard, save enough money, and get out of here, start a fresh life somewhere else. But tell me this, if I was so unworthy, then why, after I finally walked away, did he come begging me to return as his Luna? As I expected, it played out exactly like it had in my last life. Jasper went looking for Amelia, all eager, and invited her to come with him to the Shadowfang pack. Amelia put on that fake, "Oh I am so honored" act, the same as before, and my pup Liam, my sweet stubborn pup, begged her like his life depended on it. "Amelia, please come to the pack with us. I can't leave you," he'd pleaded, tugging on her hand like a little wolf desperate for his favorite treat. Amelia pretended to be shy, tilting her head just so, her eyes darting toward Jasper. "But Liam, Lydia is your mom, and she's also Jasper's mate. Shouldn't you invite her too? Am I right, Jasper?" She knew exactly what she was doing, tossing me into the conversation just to play the innocent. Before Jasper could open his mouth, Liam blurted out, "I don't want her. She's just an Omega. She's so weak. It'd be a shame to bring her to that pack. My dad's gonna be the Alpha King, and you should be his Luna." I watched Amelia go all blushy, staring up at Jasper like he hung the moon. And Jasper, he just stood there, smiling at her. The same smiles, the same words, the same reactions, exactly like the first time I lived through this. Back then, I already knew Jasper had feelings for her. He hadn't chosen me out of love. He'd chosen me because I saved his life that day at the cliff and because fate decided I was his mate. That was it. The rest? Convenience. After we were mated, I stayed busy with pack work, cleaning, cooking, keeping everything running. I barely had time with Liam or Jasper. When Liam was bullied for being an Omega's pup, Amelia had stepped in. She was the beta's daughter, respected by everyone just under our alpha. I'd been grateful to her for chasing those bullies off until Liam brought her home. That first day she stepped into our house, she didn't even greet me. Her gaze locked on Jasper, and she smiled. "Jasper, you're different from most of the wolves in our pack." From that day on, Liam invited her over again and again. And every time she came, Jasper would sit there in silence, watching her. I was his mate. I could feel his heartbeat quicken when she was near. He felt for her. I kept quiet for Liam's sake, wanting to keep our family together. I thought maybe it was just a crush that would fade. Then came the ceremony celebrating our pack's victory over a neighboring pack. I spent hours preparing the main dish, and our Luna was thrilled. She even gave me a pearl necklace as thanks. I was so happy, I couldn't wait to share it with Jasper and Liam. But when I found Jasper, he wasn't looking for me. He was sitting there, running his hands over a fur coat, Amelia's coat. I could even smell it. My stomach twisted. "Amelia came here this noon?" I asked. He looked startled, then quickly hid the coat. "Yes, she just dropped by to visit Liam. She was wondering when he might get his wolf. But Jasper's wolf betrayed him. My wolf Lily blurted out the truth. He's lying. His wolf Jacob told me, It was he asked Amelia to come when you were washing dishes. He even told Liam to leave them alone. But Jacob told me Jasper didn't touch Amelia. He just stared at her. And that's because Jacob tried to control Jasper. My wolf wasn't hurt. But me? I felt like my chest had been crushed. Still, I didn't call him out. I turned to Liam instead. Hey Liam, look what mommy got for you, I said, holding up the pearl necklace. Isn't it pretty? Liam pushed it away so hard it fell to the floor. Where'd you steal it from? I don't want it. I picked it up, forcing a smile. No, it's from the Luna. See? It's rare. A gift for you, my pup. He finally took it. But the next day, I saw Amelia wearing it. I never thought Liam would hand it over so fast. That necklace wasn't just a gift, it was my hard-earned recognition. And now it was hanging around her neck. I forced my voice to stay level, even though my chest was burning. Take off the necklace. That's mine. It was a gift for my son. Before I could step forward, a couple of pack members blocked me and shoved me to the ground. You filthy Omega. How dare you lay hands on the Beta's daughter? I need my necklace back, I said, my voice shaking as I struggled against their grip. My fingers dug into the dirt, trying to push myself up, but the weight on my shoulders forced me down again. Someone ran to tell Jasper. Soon he arrived with Liam in tow. I grabbed my son by the shoulders. Why did you give my gift to Amelia? Do you think so little of me? Liam just clung to Amelia's hand, shaking mine off with clear disgust. It looked better on her. Jasper sighed, patting my back like I was a child throwing a tantrum. It's just a necklace, Lydia. Don't make it a big deal. You're really letting me down. Then they turned and left. My mate, my son, and the she-wolf they adored, leaving me sitting in the dirt. I wanted to scream at them, curse them, something. But the words stuck in my throat. I knew I'd changed since giving birth to Liam, the sleepless nights, the endless chores. My body wasn't the same. My face had lost its softness. Meanwhile, Amelia was still slim, glowing like a wolf in her prime. And then, just like in this life, the Alpha King came to our pack. His eyes found Jasper instantly. This is your mate? The Alpha King asked, pointing toward Amelia. I held my breath, waiting for Jasper to correct him. But the king went on. Mating with Silvermoon's Beta's daughter is a fine choice. It'll strengthen our bond. It wasn't a question. It was an order, the Alpha King's will. I didn't dare speak. I just stood there, silent, tears sliding down my face, as they prepared to leave. Jasper mind-linked me before he walked away. I'll visit when I can. The bond between us will always be there. And then he was gone, taking my pup with him. When Jacob left, Lily felt the pain like a knife to the heart. I collapsed, weak, and spent days in bed. Lily begged me over and over, go to him. See him. Don't let him go. But I knew in his heart he already had. In my last life, Lily never gave up on Jasper. My wolf begged me almost every day, but I never had time, or maybe I just didn't have the courage. I kept telling myself I'd go tomorrow, or next week. Then one afternoon I collapsed. I woke up in the pack clinic, dizzy, my body heavy like lead. The healer looked at me with pity in her eyes and said, You've only got a few days, Lydia. Rest if you can. A few days. That was it. I finally asked the Luna for leave. She didn't ask why, maybe she saw it in my face. I packed what little I owned, shifted into my wolf form, and ran. My paws tore across dirt, rock, and snow, chasing a scent I could never forget. I didn't know if it was a week or a month before I finally reached the Shadowfang border. My fur was matted, my legs ached, but I could hear music. Smell roasted meat. They were celebrating. I realized, with a punch to the gut, it was Liam's coming of age. I saw him in the crowd, tall now, wearing the Shadowfang colors. My heart jumped. I called out, Liam! Liam, it's me. He turned and frowned. His eyes didn't light up. They narrowed. The guard stepped in front of me, blocking my path. One growled, No rogues allowed. I'm not a rogue. I shouted. That's my son. But before I could explain, Liam's voice cut through the air, cold as ice. I don't know her. It felt like claws tearing through my chest. I looked past the guards, desperate to find Jasper. And there he was, not coming toward me, not looking at me. He was wiping tears from Amelia's face. I had no idea what she was crying about, but I knew one thing. She had his full attention. The next second, a soldier slammed into me. Pain exploded across my ribs. I hit the ground, my vision going black. The last thing I saw before the darkness swallowed me was Amelia's flushed face, and Jasper looking at her like she was the only wolf in the world. That was the end of my last life. And then I woke up. I was back in the moment when Luna handed me that rare pearl necklace. Her smile was warm, her voice soft. For your hard work, Lydia. Last time, I'd run to show it to Jasper. This time, I held it tighter and kept my mouth shut. I knew where that path led. Instead, I went straight to Tara, a poor Omega girl about Liam's age. She was an orphan, but she had a spine of steel. Never bowed to anyone, not even the Alpha. She'd always been kind to me, and most importantly, she never sold her soul to power. When I held the necklace out to her, her eyes widened. Lydia, this is beautiful. Why are you giving it to me? It's a gift, I said, loud enough for Liam to hear. Sure enough, Liam stormed over, his brows knit. Why are you giving Tara a gift? She's just an Omega. I turned and looked him dead in the eyes. Because she's just like me. I'm an Omega too. Made him falter. For the first time in a long time he looked embarrassed. But he wasn't done. He turned to Tara and snapped. That's my mom's stuff. You have no right to keep it. It startled me, he hadn't called me mom in ages. But I stood my ground. Yeah, it's mine. Which means I can give it to whoever I want. He clenched his fists, his voice rising. Fine. Amelia will give me gifts better than this stupid necklace. He stormed off. Jasper went after him. Then turned back to me with a frown. Why are you embarrassing Liam like that? Are you mad at me, Lydia? I gave a little shrug. Mad for what? He didn't even hesitate. For me being too close to Amelia, right? I just stared at him. So he knew. He knew and he didn't care. The next day, it happened, the same scene I remembered. The Alpha King visited, his soldiers behind him like a wall of steel. He scanned the crowd, spotted Amelia, and pointed. Is this your mate? Before Jasper could answer, I stepped forward. My voice was loud and steady. No. I am Jasper's mate. The Alpha King's face darkened, his lips pressing into a thin line. He didn't like that answer one bit. His mood only lifted when Liam, my own son, and Jasper insisted on bringing Amelia with them to the Shadowfang pack. My blood ran cold because I knew this story already. I knew how it ended. Last time, I'd been left with nothing but a broken heart and an empty house. This time I wasn't going to sit and wait for the end. I'd been quietly saving. Money. Not enough yet, but more than before. I knew my body. I knew that one day the sickness would come for me again. But this time, I was going to be ready. Before that day came, I was going to learn some medical skills and to survive on my own. And when the time came, I wouldn't be running toward Jasper. I'd be running far, far away from him. The smell of dried herbs hit me as soon as I stepped into the pack clinic. The air was warm, a mix of sage, mint, and something bitter that made the back of my throat tingle, wolfsbane. The healer, Meryl, looked up from her work table, her silver hair braided down her back. She was one of the few people in the pack who never took sides, never got caught up in the gossip. When I'd asked her the first time if she'd teach me, she didn't even hesitate. Sure, she'd said, wiping her hands on her apron. If you're willing to do the work, I'll show you everything I know. So I stayed. For weeks. Morning till evening. I was in that clinic sorting roots, grinding leaves, boiling tinctures until my clothes smelled like a walking apothecary. Meryl showed me how to tell herbs apart by their texture, how to crush wolfsbane without getting poisoned, and how to mix antidotes so precise that even a drop too much could kill a wolf instead of saving them. It gave me something to focus on, something that wasn't Jasper. Still, every now and then, his voice brushed against my mind through the mate bond, like a faint whisper I could almost ignore. Lydia, I blocked him out. I didn't know what to say to him anymore. Didn't know if I wanted to. Then one afternoon, I was sorting dried foxglove when I felt it, the shift in the air, the ripple of power at the edge of the territory. Jasper was here. Lily, my wolf, perked up at first. Excitement surged through her, tail high, ears forward, until she caught his scent. Then she froze, and a wave of disgust rolled through her so strong I almost doubled over. I smell Amelia. She snarled inside my head, pacing. She's all over him. Lily, calm down, I whispered under my breath, trying to keep my hands from shaking as I packed herbs into jars. Don't jump to conclusions, no, she snapped, her voice raw with hurt. She's been close to him. Too close. By the time Jasper walked into the clinic, my chest felt tight. His eyes found mine instantly, that familiar pull sparking in the air between us. But I didn't melt. I set down the jar and asked bluntly, "Did you sleep with Amelia?" His jaw tightened. "Of course not. You're my mate, Lydia." "I'd never." I stared at him, searching for the truth in his eyes, but Lily's heartbreak was like a knife in my chest, making me doubt every word he said. My wolf Lily turned away from him in my mind, curling up. She weakly said, "They didn't actually sleep together, but yeah, I know. But they had already been close enough." He glanced around the clinic, changing the subject. "You're learning medical skills now?" I nodded once. "You don't need to," he said, his tone somewhere between dismissive and possessive. "I can give you money. Plenty of it." "But," he hesitated, then met my eyes. "On one condition." I folded my arms. "What condition?" "I need to make Amelia my Luna." The words hit like a punch. "I'm not breaking our bond," he rushed to add, as if that made it better. "But I promised the pack. They need stability. She's useful." I laughed once, sharp and humorless. "You came all the way here just to tell me something you've already decided?" Before he could answer, small footsteps pattered behind him. "Daddy, are you done talking to her?" Liam's little voice chimed. Liam peeked around Jasper's leg, his big brown eyes blinking up at me. "We need to go back." I looked at my pup and felt nothing. No warmth. No rush of joy. Just a hollow ache. I turned back to my work without a word. On the counter in front of me was a bowl of crushed roots and a vial of pale yellow liquid, an antidote for wolfsbane poisoning. I'd been brewing it all morning, careful to balance every ingredient, so it could draw the toxin out of a wolf's system without shutting down their heart. Jasper's gaze dropped to it. "Is that for wolfsbane?" he asked. "We might need it. My pack's preparing for war with the Ironclaw wolves. Their bait is known for poisoning blades." Liam's eyes went wide. "Whoa, is that the medicine that can cure wolfsbane? Can we take some? We should take at least 2 bottles. No 3. Amelia might need one." Something in me snapped. "No," said calmly, pulling the vials toward me. "They're not for you." Jasper frowned. "Lydia." I met his eyes, my voice low but firm. "You made your choice, Jasper. Take your promises, take your Luna, and take your war somewhere else. You don't get to come here asking for my help while she's still on your scent." For a moment, the clinic was silent except for the faint bubbling of a pot in the back. Then Jasper stepped back, his jaw clenched, and took Liam's hand. "Let's go," he said without looking at me. I don't think Jasper or Liam ever thought the sweet, obedient Omega they used to know could turn so cold toward them. But I did. I'd had enough. Jasper had been trying to mind-link me more often than before, especially when he was over at the Shadowfang pack. I could feel him reaching out, but I didn't have the time or the energy to answer. I was buried in my medical training, spending most days with Meryl. She wasn't the easiest mentor, but she was fair. One afternoon, after I'd stitched up a nasty gash on a young warrior, Meryl gave me this rare smile. "You're the best assistant I've ever had," she said. I froze for a second, because I couldn't remember the last time I'd been praised like that. Not by Jasper. Definitely not by Liam. "Thanks," I told her. And I meant it. The truth? "Thank you" was the nicest thing Jasper had ever said to me. And Liam, my own son, hadn't even said those 2 words to me once in his life. Meanwhile, at Shadowfang, Amelia had slid right into the role of Liam's mom, at least in her head. She'd take him out for training, and teach him how to stand up for himself. Which might have been fine, except Liam had no clue where self-defense ended and just plain attacking began. Pretty soon he wasn't defending himself, he was bullying others. The pack committee pulled the Alpha King aside more than once to complain about Liam's behavior. And every single time, The Alpha King turned to Jasper and blamed him. Your job is to teach him discipline, he'd growl. Maybe that's when Jasper started looking at me differently. At least when we were at the Silvermoon Pack, Liam acted properly. Maybe it was my coldness toward him, or maybe Amelia's version of motherhood wasn't as perfect as he'd imagined. Either way, I could feel the shift. It wasn't Jasper himself though. It was his wolf Jacob. Jacob had been restless for days. Every night he clawed at the bond, pushing harder than ever to get through to Lily. But Lily stayed silent, buried deep in the back of my mind. I did the same. Neither of us wanted to hear him anymore. I'd finally saved enough coin working with Meryl. It wasn't much, but enough to start over somewhere far from Silvermoon. Enough to breathe. I'd already made a quiet plan, slip away the day Jasper and Amelia left for Shadowfang. No one would notice an Omega gone missing, not with the Alpha's soldiers crowding the gates for their grand send-off. Jacob must have sensed it. That night he came again. He suppressed Jasper's consciousness, desperate, his voice raw with urgency. Please, don't shut me out. Talk to me just once. I let a cold laugh escape. Tomorrow's the day, isn't it? You'll escort Amelia to Shadowfang, play the perfect mate in front of everyone. And tomorrow's my day too. The day I walk away. He stumbled over his words, like claws scraping stone. You can't. Please don't do this. Lily, are you there? Please tell Lydia stay. Just stay. I can't live without both of you. I'll fall apart without you. I breathed evenly, keeping my tone as calm as still water. You know I can't stay. I've learned a spell. For one full day, I can silence you. No voice. No pleading. Don't blame me for this, Jacob. I'm only chasing what Jasper never gave me. The next morning, Jasper was at the gates, dressed in formal leathers, Amelia clinging to his arm. Soldiers lined up behind them, polished armor gleaming under the sun. The air smelled of iron and pride. Jasper had been restless too, though I didn't know it at the time. He had gone to the Alpha King himself, begging for one more seat for me. For the mate he had already cast aside. Against all odds, the king had granted it. Go fetch Lydia, Jasper told one of his men, his tone clipped but hopeful. The soldier left, but when he returned his face was pale. Alpha, she's not there. Her things are gone. She's vanished. Jasper just stood frozen, as if the world had slipped from under his feet. That's when Jacob finally broke through. The spell, his voice ripping out like a beast loosed from a cage. Damn it, Jasper. You're an idiot. Our mate doesn't want us anymore. She's gone and it's your fault. I was gonna rent a little place near the Shadowfang territory. Folks called it the Edgelands, where you weren't exactly in the pack, but you were close enough to feel their protection. The place was under the Alpha King's rule, or maybe one of his top wolves ran it. I wasn't sure and honestly I didn't care. All I knew was, they didn't treat Omegas like dirt. Rumor was an Omega could live there without getting shoved to the bottom of the food chain. I finally made it. My new place was nothing fancy, just a small cabin tucked at the edge of the borderlands. The air was sharper here, wild. It smelled of pine and damp earth, a little lonelier, but it was freedom. Every breath reminded me I was out of Silvermoon, away from their stares and whispers. Still, the bond made sure he wasn't really gone. That first night, I tossed and turned, rolling over again and again. My body wanted rest, but my chest ached like someone had tied a rope around my ribs and kept tugging. I hated that connection. Hated that it still tied me to him. Later, I found out Jasper wasn't sleeping either. Over in Shadowfang, with all his new riches and glory, he lay awake too. He might have had silk sheets and a golden fireplace, but the bond worked both ways. No matter how hard he tried to bury me under Amelia's perfume and Liam's laughter, I was still there. His wolf Jacob felt it most. That night Jacob came to me in the dreamscape, dragging his paws, tail low, eyes red. He looked broken. Lily, he begged my wolf, his voice shaking. Please, I'm sorry. I never wanted this. I never meant to leave you. It wasn't me, it was him. Lily stood her ground, ears sharp, gaze cold. I stayed behind her, watching. My wolf and I were one in that silence. Jacob's body shook. He dropped to his knees, claws scraping the dirt. Please, forgive me. I would have chosen you if I could. Damn him. Damn Jasper. He's the one who ruined us. His howl cracked into sobs. Lily flicked her tail once, dismissing him. We don't need his regret, I whispered, turning my back. Not anymore. The sound of Jacob cursing Jasper followed me as I walked away. I shut him out. I refused to hear another useless word. The next morning, over in Shadowfang, the shiny new life had already started to show cracks. Amelia was all smiles at breakfast, greeting Jasper with her perfect voice, like sugar wrapped around steel. But Jasper didn't smile back. Something was missing. He noticed it even clearer when Liam shuffled in, his eyes rimmed dark like he hadn't slept. Jasper frowned. Rough night. Liam forced a grin. Nah, I'm good. This place is amazing. He reached for Amelia's hand without looking at Jasper. Amelia, could you grab me some milk? I heard Jasper's answer later from whispers that carried across packs. His voice had been sharp, like a growl half held back. She's not your servant, Liam. But Liam only rolled his eyes. Relax. She doesn't mind. He turned, still holding Amelia's fingers like she was some trophy. You'll do it for me, won't you? Amelia kept her face smooth, but her jaw tightened. It's fine. I'll get it. She slid her hand free and stood, her dress brushing the floor. Jasper had sat there stiff, watching her walk away. Something twisted in him then, because that was the kind of thing I used to do for him, back when he thought I'd always be there. Days passed. They grew comfortable in Shadowfang. Jasper had a room fit for royalty, with velvet curtains and a balcony overlooking the whole valley. Liam, once the bullied boy of Silvermoon, now strutted with guards at his heels. He ordered around Omegas like he was born alpha blood. Amelia blossomed fastest of all. She wore silks now, diamonds in her hair, rings stacked on her fingers. She had more dresses than she had nights to wear them. And she loved the attention, the way pack members bowed, the way the Alpha King himself smiled when she entered a room. But with luxury came pressure. The Alpha King wanted Jasper to make it official. Name Amelia as your Luna, he told him. It'll steady the pack, give you both more authority. Amelia nearly glowed with excitement. That night she dressed herself in pale blue silk, a scent of roses clinging to her skin, and slipped into Jasper's room. She pressed close, her lips brushing his jaw. Make me yours, she whispered. Jasper stiffened. Something felt wrong. He tried to reach for Jacob, to get strength from his wolf. But Jacob slammed the door shut. No, Jacob's voice growled inside him. I won't help you. Not with her. Not ever. The rejection left Jasper cold. He felt his wolf fading, growing weaker by the day. For the first time, he wondered if the bond he had cast aside, the one with me, was stronger than he'd ever admitted. Is it really that powerful? He muttered to himself. Is that why I can't feel her? Amelia pulled back, fury flashing in her eyes when she saw he hadn't moved, hadn't touched her. Humiliation burned her cheeks. She stormed out, heels clicking like gunshots down the hall. The crack widened the next morning. Liam, spoiled now by servants and wealth, leaned back in his chair and waved a hand. Amelia, get me some milk. This time Amelia didn't fake a smile. She slammed her cup down and snapped. I'm not your damn servant. You've got 10 of them outside, ask one of them. Liam blinked, stunned, his pride bruised. He turned to Jasper, lowering his voice. I kinda miss my mom. Jasper's POV. The night had been restless. Liam's words earlier still echoed in my head. And maybe he had voiced what Dee'd been too afraid to admit. He wanted his mother back, and deep down, I wanted her too. My wolf Jacob had been nagging me for days, pushing, growling, restless before, and now quiet, motionless, and dumb, until I couldn't take it anymore. So that morning, I finally asked Liam straight out. Liam, I said, watching him carefully. Are you willing to go back to the Silvermoon Pack to get your mom? He looked at me, his young face caught between hope and fear. Then he nodded firm. Yes, I want her back. Something heavy lifted from my chest. At least I wasn't the only one thinking it. Before we could even start planning, though, Amelia noticed us packing. She stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, brows pinched. Where are you two going? She asked, her voice sharp. I shot Liam a quick look, raising my eyebrows, trying to tell him don't say anything. But the boy didn't catch it. "We're going to find my mom," he blurted out. I cursed under my breath. Amelia's face darkened. "Your mom? That Omega?" She practically spat the word. I scrambled for words, trying to calm her down. "It's not like that. My wolf, he won't let it go. He's been using every measure to force me to see her. I tried to refuse, Amelia, I did. But now Jacob won't even talk to me. It'll be quick. I promise." She rolled her eyes, shaking her head. "Jasper, maybe you should reject her. I mean it. You can't keep hanging in between like this. The mate bond will eat you alive." I clenched my jaw. My chest tightened at the thought, but I forced my voice steady. "And cutting the bond? That's just as bad. Maybe worse. I'll find a way, Amelia. Just wait for us here." Before she could argue again, I turned away, motioning for Liam to follow. My decision was made. But just as we reached the gates of the Shadowfang castle, the beta rushed toward us, his eyes wide. "Alpha Jasper," he said urgently, almost breathless. "You need to see this. It's the Alpha King. Something's wrong." I froze. What? He might have been poisoned. Cold dread clawed at my stomach. Without a second thought, I pushed past him, racing back inside. Liam and Amelia followed close behind. When I entered the king's chambers, my chest tightened. My father, strong, towering, the Alpha King who had led wars, was lying weak on his bed, pale and sweating. His breathing was ragged. "Father!" I rushed to his side. "What happened?" He looked at me, his eyes clouded with pain but still carrying that same fire. His voice was faint but clear. "The battle with the Iron Claw Pack, do you remember?" "Yes," I said quickly, leaning close. "Of course. They ambushed me. I managed to escape, but their blades," he coughed, his whole body shuddering, "were poisoned." My heart sank. "I'll get the healer right now." "I've already tried," he rasped. "Our healers say they don't know the cure." But his eyes burned into mine. "Your old pack. The Silver Moon healer. Meryl. They say she might know how to treat me." "Then I'll bring her," I said without hesitation. He gripped my wrist with surprising strength, his hand shaking. "Go, son. Quickly. Before it's too late." I swallowed hard, forcing myself not to show how terrified I felt. "I will. Just hang on." I turned, already signaling to Liam. "We leave now." "Jasper." Amelia's voice broke from behind me, sharp and worried. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. This wasn't just about Lydia anymore. It wasn't just about me and Jacob, and the bond one was too afraid to cut. It was about the Alpha King. My father. The man whose strength had built this pack. As Liam hurried beside me, his eyes wide, I caught his whisper. "Does this mean we can see Mom, too?" I glanced at him, his hope so raw it twisted in my chest. "Yeah," I said quietly. "We'll bring her back." Behind us, Amelia called again, her voice trembling between anger and desperation. "Jasper, you can't just run off like this." After days of traveling, dust and exhaustion clinging to us like a second skin, Liam and I finally crossed the border of Silvermoon Pack. The cold mountain air bit at my lungs, and the tall pines stretched like guardians around their territory. My wolf was restless, pushing inside my chest. He wanted to find her. He wanted to see Lydia. I rubbed my temples and exhaled. "Steady now. First things first. Go, Liam." I told my son, my voice rough from the long road. "Ask the healer to help us. I'll go find your mom." Liam shook his head fast, his eyes stubborn and too much like mine. "No, Dad. I'm not just gonna sit around while you find her. I'm going to. Why don't you talk to the healer instead, and I'll find Mom." I clenched my jaw. That boy was getting bold, too bold. For a moment, irritation flickered, but I swallowed it down. He wasn't wrong to want his mother. "How about this?" I muttered. "We talk to the healer soon, and then get to see your mom." We made our way to the clinic. On the way, I spotted one of the pack's Omegas carrying folded blankets. He was one of the Omegas I'd seen working with Lydia before. "Hey," I called out. He froze, his head jerking up like he'd been caught in a trap. His wide eyes darted around, as if making sure no one had seen me speak to him. I forgot, Silvermoon had rules. Here, Omegas didn't talk to Alphas unless spoken to, and even then it was rare. I lowered my voice. Tell Lydia to come to the clinic. I need to talk to her. His mouth opened like he wanted to respond, but I didn't give him the chance. I turned and walked away with Liam at my side. No point lingering. The clinic was quiet when we arrived. Too quiet. The air smelled of dried herbs and faint smoke, but the benches were empty. No healer. No Lydia. I frowned. She should have been here by now. Liam paced by the door, restless. Then suddenly, a shadow moved in the corner, and a small figure appeared. It was a girl, barely more than a teenager, and around her neck glimmered a necklace I knew well, Lydia's gift. My chest tightened. I stepped forward. You. Come here. Talk to me. The girl glanced at me, then rolled her eyes like I was dirt under her shoe. Without a word, she turned to leave. Liam's temper flared hot. He grabbed her arm, dragging her back. Hey, don't just walk away. Tell us where my mom is. She snapped around, her eyes flashing, and growled low in her throat. Her wolf was close to the surface. Now you remember your mom? She spat at him. She's gone. She would never see you again. You don't even know how to respect her. Liam's face turned red. He raised his hand, ready to slap her. Before he could, she caught his wrist midair, her fingers tight as iron. Her lips peeled back, showing sharp teeth. Try it, she hissed, her voice trembling with fury. Lydia is free now. Both of you should leave her alone. Her words slammed into me. Free? My heart hammered as I stepped closer. What do you mean? My voice was cold, impatient. The girl's chin lifted, her eyes full of defiance. She packed everything and left Silvermoon. Our Luna gave her permission. For a moment, all I heard was the pounding in my ears. She left. Lydia was gone. My wolf clawed at me, furious, desperate, howling inside. I forced myself to breathe. Then where's the healer? Meryl, right? Where is she? The girl, Tara, I remembered now, that was her name, frowned. She's not here either. She was invited to some important gathering. Don't know when she'll be back. When will she return? I pressed. I told you I don't know, Alpha. Her tone snapped on that word like it was an insult, not respect. Then she turned and stormed out, her braid whipping behind her. I stood there, staring at the empty door frame. My hands curled into fists. Rage prickled through me, but I couldn't touch her. Liam kicked the leg of a chair, his face twisted with anger. Dad, is Mom mad at us? Because we didn't bring her to Shadowfang? Is that why she left? His voice cracked at the end. He was just a boy, but his pain cut through me. I crouched down in front of him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Maybe. She has reasons to be angry with me. With us. But that doesn't mean she won't come back. My throat tightened as I spoke, but I forced the words out steady. If we find her, you need to treat her right. No more temper. No more disrespect. You hear me? Liam swallowed hard, then nodded, his eyes serious. I understand. I nodded back, though inside, doubt chewed at me. Because this wasn't the first time. Last year Lydia left too. Back then, it was over Amelia. Amelia accused her of stealing clothes, and I defended Amelia. I told Lydia she was overreacting. But she wasn't. Amelia had no need to steal, and Lydia felt I'd humiliated her. She'd packed up and vanished for a few days. Then she came back. But this time felt different. This time, she'd gone with the Luna's blessing. This time, she'd said she was free. I raked a hand through my hair, and looked at the empty clinic again. Where could she go? She was an Omega, and it was dangerous outside Packlands. Rogues roamed the borders, desperate wolves with nothing left to lose. Lydia wouldn't survive out there long. At least, that's what I told myself. I exhaled slowly, then straightened. We'll wait, I said. A few days. Meryl will come back. Maybe Lydia will too. Liam nodded, though his jaw was still tight with anger. I glanced out the clinic window at the forest beyond. For the first time, I wasn't sure if Lydia wanted to be found. Lydia's POV. I never thought my life would settle into something steady after leaving Silvermoon. But out here, at the very edge of the Pack's territory, I finally found a place that felt respectful. No one looked at me like I was worthless, not anymore. Meryl had been the one to change everything for me. She wasn't just a healer. She was patient, tough, and sharper than any alpha I'd ever met. Under her teaching, I learned how to treat wounds, how to tell when a fever was about to break, how to use herbs to draw out poison, even how to set bones when warriors came limping back from rogue fights. Day by day, my hands grew steadier. The first time I stitched up a boy's arm after he'd been torn open in training, he looked at me like I'd saved his world. Maybe I had. After that, people started coming to me for help. Pretty soon, it wasn't just the wolves from the outer huts. Rogues, those living just outside the boundaries, the ones no one wanted to claim, started showing up too. At first, they came sneaking in, keeping their heads down, afraid I'd chase them off. But when I treated them like anyone else, word spread. The savior. They called me. I didn't ask for it, but it stuck. The way their eyes lit up when they said it made me feel something I hadn't in years. Worth. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving. I was making money. They paid me in coin, food, sometimes even clothes. My little cabin grew warmer, cleaner, fuller. I could finally breathe without fear that tomorrow would strip me bare again. One morning, I was drying herbs outside my door when a man from the Edgeland pack came to me. He was tall, broad-shouldered, but not cruel. He carried himself with the calm weight of someone who served higher authority. "Lydia," he said, dipping his head slightly. "Yes." I kept my voice steady, even though my wolf, Lily, bristled with unease. "Our alpha requests your presence," he said. I blinked. "Your alpha? Why would he need me?" "Word travels fast," he replied. "The savior's name has reached his ears. He wants to meet the woman behind it." I froze. Meeting an alpha wasn't part of my plan. I'd spent so long trying to disappear from that cycle. I wasn't sure I wanted to stand in front of one again. But then I thought of Meryl. She always said, when opportunity knocks, don't hide. Even alphas bleed. Even alphas need healing. So I swallowed the knot in my throat and nodded. "All right. I'll go." I never thought the alpha ruling the Edgeland would be living right inside the Shadowfang castle. Everyone always said he was a distant branch of the Alpha King's family, but I didn't expect him to actually be here. And then I saw him. Braden Donovan. Jasper's cousin. Moon, he looked so much like Jasper it almost hurt to look at him. Same sharp jawline. Same dark hair that caught the light just right. But his eyes, they were warmer, playful even. Not cold like Jasper's. Every time he spoke to me, I found myself dodging his gaze, like if I looked too long, I'd see Jasper standing there instead. "Please, Savior," Braden said one evening when we met in one of the castle's grand halls. His voice carried urgency, but there was a charm under it too. "I know your reputation. You're good at what you do. You're my only chance to cure my uncle." I tilted my head, curious despite myself. "Your uncle?" "The Alpha King," he said, almost whispering. His brown eyes lit up the moment I finally looked at him. He was poisoned. Then he smiled suddenly, like he couldn't hold it back. "Damn, I finally get to see your face up close. You're gorgeous. I've never seen eyes like yours." Heat rushed to my cheeks. My eyes had always been different. Rare, sure. But no one had ever praised them like that before. "Please," Braden pressed on, "save him. Live here. I'll pay you whatever you want. Hell, if it's not money you want," he winked. "I'll throw myself in too." I almost laughed right there. So different from Jasper. Jasper never joked. Never smiled like this. I finally decided to move in the castle. Braden thought he was winning me over. Truth was, I had my own reasons to stay. I failed to set foot in Shadowfang in my last life. Died before I could even try. Now I had a chance. To live here. To watch everything unfold for Jasper and his Amelia. Braden, of course, completely misunderstood. He thought my decision to stay was about him. From that day on, he acted like my personal servant. He brought breakfast to my room, bought me clothes far finer than I'd ever owned. He ruled the werewolves here with a strange kind of mercy. He didn't cling to strict ranks. But the way he treated me, it was over the top. Finally, to repay his efforts, I agreed to see the Alpha King. The man was pale and weak when I entered his chamber. He still carried the weight of authority though, even flat on his bed. His eyes narrowed the moment they landed on me. Why bring an Omega here? His voice was strained but firm. Before I could open my mouth, Brayden jumped in. Uncle, she's not just any Omega. She knows how to treat Wolfsbane. You should trust her. I don't, the Alpha King growled. I'll wait for my son. He's bringing the healer back. I let out a cold laugh and turned to leave. If he wanted to die stubborn, that was his problem. That's when the door creaked open, and a familiar voice broke through. Lydia. I froze. Amelia. Her wide eyes took me in with disbelief. What are you doing here? Her tone was curious but sharp. I glanced back at the Alpha King and muttered, nothing. Amelia stepped forward like she belonged there. Brayden's face hardened instantly. Who are you? And why are you barging into the Alpha King's room? Oh, I'm Jasper's friend, Amelia stammered. I only came to check on the Alpha King. See if he's feeling better. Jasper's friend? Never heard of you. Brayden waved a dismissive hand. You can't just wander in. Leave. Amelia's cheeks flushed red. For once, she looked small. She backed out without another word. I couldn't help the satisfaction curling in my chest. Brayden turned back to me looking guilty. I'm sorry, Savior. He's stubborn, but please stay longer. My cousin's been gone for weeks searching for a healer. I don't think the Alpha King has much time. I only nodded. Meryl, my old teacher, had long disappeared to live her quiet life. They'd never find her. So I stayed. Enjoyed Brayden's offerings. Waited. Until one evening, after I'd just stepped out of a hot shower, my wolf Lily jolted awake inside me. He's here. My heart skipped. She didn't need to say who. I knew. Outside my door, I heard voices. Brayden's low, firm, but almost pleading. Jasper, listen to me. If the healer fails, the Savior can save him. Jasper's voice shot back sharp. Savior? What Savior? I've never heard of her. She's here, Brayden insisted. You'll understand when you see her. Then a knock rattled my door. I opened it. Jasper's eyes went wide. Lydia? He stormed forward, anger and something else flashing in his eyes. Lydia, Liam and I waited for you in Silvermoon for over a week. And you, he glanced around at the lavish room behind me. You're here? In Shadowfang. I folded my arms, my smile cold as ice. No, I'm not waiting for you here. Come on, Jasper snapped. Don't be childish. I know you're mad I didn't bring you before. But I'm here now. I'll take you with me. I swear. He reached for me, like he could just pull me back into his world. Brayden stepped in, blocking him with a protective growl. She's the Savior I invited. My guest. Whatever history you two share, she stays under my roof. Jasper's chest rose and fell fast. His eyes burned into me before he finally turned on Brayden. His voice cracked like thunder. And she's my mate. Brayden's face went pale when Jasper said I was his mate. His jaw flexed, but instead of shouting, he lowered his voice, almost like he was trying to keep control. Then tell me, Brayden asked, eyes narrowing on Jasper. Why the hell did you leave her out there? Huh? Why did you let her live alone on the edgeland if she's your mate? Jasper's brows furrowed deep. He didn't answer fast enough, and I felt the air grow heavy. Before Jasper could open his mouth, Liam shoved past him and ran straight into my room. The boy flung himself at me, wrapping his small arms tight around my waist. Mom, he cried, voice breaking. Are you trying to dump me? Dad and I waited for you in Silvermoon Pack, but you never came back. You just left us there. I froze. My arms stayed stiff at my sides. I tried to pull back from his grip, to breathe, to steady myself. Liam's scent, the little warmth of his body, all of it clawed at me. But I forced myself to stand still. When he realized I wasn't hugging him back, Liam's eyes flooded with tears. He tilted his head up at me, his lip trembling. I really need you, Mom. Please don't hate me, he sobbed. My chest ached, but I kept my face blank. If I cracked even once, if I let myself fold, I knew I'd be dragged back into the same chains as before. Jasper's growl snapped through the room, rough and impatient. Lydia. His voice was sharp, like an alpha command. He's your son. Why are you being so damn cold to your own kid? Cold. The word sliced into me like a blade. I almost laughed. Cold. After everything? After years of humiliation. After watching Liam call another woman his mother. After being ignored like I was just a shadow in my own home? Brayden stepped forward, sliding between us like a shield. His presence was calm but strong. Jasper, enough. She needs a break. Can't you see? Your mate is exhausted. She doesn't need you hounding her. Jasper's eyes burned, golden wolf light flickering through. I know what she needs, he snapped. She needs me. Brayden, get out of the way and leave us alone. What if I say no? Brayden's tone hardened. He squared his shoulders, his wolf close under his skin. She clearly needs space. And don't you dare call her cold. I've watched her save lives. I've seen her fight harder than anyone. She's warm-hearted in a way you'll never understand. Jasper bared his teeth, fury in every line of his face. Don't act like you know her better than I do. She's mine. Brayden smirked faintly, but his eyes stayed sharp. Maybe. But the savior deserves someone who treats her like she matters. Not someone who leaves her in the dirt. Jasper's hands curled into fists. What the hell are you talking about? His wolf, Jacob, was clawing at the surface, ready to fight. I couldn't take it anymore. Their growls, their stares, the way Liam's tears stung against my skin. My wolf roared inside me. Enough, I shouted, shoving them all back with the force of my voice. My palms pushed against their chests, one by one, and I herded them straight out the door. Get out. All of you. Leave me alone. I slammed the door shut with a final snap and leaned my forehead against the wood, breathing hard. Their scents lingered in the room, heavy, suffocating. I wanted silence. Just silence. From outside, Jasper's voice still carried, stubborn as ever. Lydia. I'll come back later. Wait for me. The next morning, I wasn't even fully awake when Liam burst in again. He climbed onto the bed, shaking me like he used to when he was smaller. Mom, can you make my favorite breakfast? Please. I missed your cooking. I sighed, dragging myself up. Liam, he pouted, big eyes watery again. I'm not leaving until you say yes. It was easier to give in than fight him. I followed him to the kitchen, my hands moving automatically as I cracked eggs, chopped herbs, stirred the pan. The smells rising from the skillet dragged me backward in time. Back to Silvermoon. Back to nights I cooked dish after dish, trying to please him. Trying to win even a scrap of love. And every time, Liam would wrinkle his nose, push the plate away and say, "This is disgusting. I only want to eat with Amelia." Amelia. The woman who took everything. And Jasper, he never said a damn word. He sat there, silent, letting my own son humiliate me. Letting my heart bleed dry. The memory stung so hard, I barely realized the food was done. I set the plate in front of Liam. But this time he smiled. His face lit up like the boy I used to know. He shoveled bites into his mouth, happy as anything. This is so good, Mom. I love it. I stared at him, silent. Maybe kids really didn't know the damage they caused. Or maybe it was easier to forgive when the past had already broken you. Just then, Jasper walked in. His eyes softened at the sight of us sitting together, sharing food. Finally, he said, voice almost cheerful. Everything's back to normal. I sneered on the inside. Normal? If this was normal, I wanted no part of it. After breakfast, Jasper pulled a stunt I should have expected. He insisted on coming into my room, shutting Liam out with a lame excuse. Your mom and I have some personal things to fix, he told Liam, before closing the door. The moment it latched, Jasper's wolf surged. Jacob's hunger filled the air, raw and needy. My wolf Lily stirred uneasily inside me, torn between bond and fear. Jasper pinned me gently but firmly against the wall. His hands braced on either side of my head. His eyes glowed, his breath ragged. Lydia, he said, voice thick with desire, you're my mate. I can't resist this bond. Without you, nothing satisfies me, no matter who I'm with. You should know I never betrayed you. The only reason I kept Amelia close was because Liam needed her. That's it. It was never about her. I stared at him coldly, my heart a war zone. His words, his heat, the bond pulling at my soul, it all tangled together until I could barely breathe. Finally, I whispered, steady and calm. Jasper, you don't have to explain. How about this? Reject me. Cut the bond. Free us both. My words slipped out before I could even think. Hell no. His voice cracked with raw disbelief. The desire in his gaze dimmed instantly, replaced by something wounded. Even his wolf, Jacob, whimpered and went silent inside his chest. The silence between us was thick. For once, Jasper didn't fight back. He looked at me with that desperate, almost lost look, then finally muttered, "You need to cool down. I'll give you some space." He left the room, the door clicking softly behind him. I barely had a moment to breathe when Amelia stormed in. Her voice was dripping with smugness as she crossed her arms. "Lydia, the Alpha King says you could give it a shot. Treat him. Since Jasper failed to bring the healer, and you once studied under one." But she tilted her head, smirking. "You should know the risk. If you fail to cure the Alpha King, you'll be buried right next to him." Her tone was venom, her smile almost gleeful at the thought. I shrugged, trying not to give her the satisfaction of seeing me rattled. "Who told you so?" Before Amelia could snap back, Jasper's voice rumbled from the hallway. "Lydia." He stepped inside, ignoring Amelia's glare. His voice softened. "Don't let her stress you. Even if you fail, there will be no consequence. I believe in you. Just try." I nodded once, walked past Amelia's angry scowl, and headed straight for the Alpha King's chamber. The sight waiting for me twisted my gut. The Alpha King lay pale and still, his breathing shallow. The sickness had gone deeper than I imagined. Too much time untreated, his brain was already touched by the poison. If this had gone on for a few more days, even I wouldn't have had a chance. I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. It took me twice as long as usual to grind and prepare the antidote, my hands steady despite the pressure. Sweat trickled down my neck, but I didn't dare lose focus. Finally, I poured the mixture between his lips, praying to the moon goddess he could still swallow. Hours would pass before it worked, if it worked at all. When I stepped out of the chamber, Amelia was already whispering with the servants. Her voice carried just enough for me to hear. "The so-called savior's nothing but a fake. She only came here dreaming to be Luna, because she's Jasper's mate. Alpha King's as good as dead thanks to that useless Omega. She should be executed." Their words spread like wildfire through the pack house. Within hours, the entire Shadowfang pack seemed to know. When I walked back toward my room, whispers followed me like shadows. Then it escalated. An egg splattered across my shoulder, dripping down my clothes. "Oops," a servant snickered loudly, pretending innocence. The egg just slipped. Funny how it landed right on a shameless skunk. The others burst out laughing. Before I could react, Braden appeared from nowhere. His eyes burned like fire. In a blink, he grabbed one of the laughing servants and threw her across the hall. She slammed into the wall and groaned in pain, clutching her ribs. But before Braden could punish the one who actually threw the egg, Jasper stormed in like thunder. His hand shot out, seizing the culprit by the collar. His growl shook the walls. "How dare you?" he snarled, his voice more wolf than man. "How dare you humiliate my mate like this? Apologize, or I swear I'll tear your throat out." The servant's eyes went wide in terror. Her body shook so violently she lost control, wetting herself right there on the floor. She dropped to her knees, begging through sobs. Please forgive me. Please don't let him kill me." I stood there, sticky egg dripping down my arm, my face cold as stone. "It's not a big deal," I said flatly, wiping the mess away with my sleeve. I turned and walked back into my room. I locked the door and scrubbed my face clean in silence. An hour passed. My heart beat steady as I waited. Then, from the Alpha King's chamber, a roar shook the air. The Alpha King was awake. I allowed myself the smallest exhale of relief. News spread instantly, and Amelia's lies crumbled to ash. Her punishment came swift and hard, locked away in the dungeons for spreading false rumors about the king's death. This time, not a single soul rose to defend her. When the Alpha King finally stirred awake, the tension in the air nearly suffocated me. His chest rose with a slow breath, and when his eyelids fluttered open, his wolf aura rippled across the room like a storm breaking free. For a heartbeat, The entire Shadowfang pack seemed to exhale in relief. But Jasper, he didn't waste a single second. "Father," he said firmly, stepping forward. "There's something I must ask. Let me take Lydia as my Luna. With her gift, her medical skill, and our bond, I can't stand to leave her. And neither can our pup." My chest tightened. His words hung heavy, like chains trying to lock me in place. The Alpha King turned his gaze on me, sharp and measuring. His eyes narrowed as if he could read every thought written on my face. "This Omega," he muttered, his voice still hoarse but laced with power. "She doesn't want to be Luna. I can see it written all over her expression." Jasper didn't even flinch. He stepped closer, his voice low but steady. "So what if she resists? I'll do whatever it takes to convince her. She belongs with me." The Alpha King let out a cold laugh. "Absurd. You could reject her. Make someone else Luna, someone more suited, more matchable to you." "No." Jasper's tone snapped like a whip. His wolf Jacob surfaced in his eyes, golden and unyielding. "If you force me to reject her, then I'll walk away right now. From the pack. From everything." The room fell silent. The Alpha King's jaw clenched. For the first time, a hint of unease flickered across his face. Losing Jasper, his heir, his only son, would mean tearing apart the pack's future. Finally he sighed, shoulders sagging. "Fine. Do as you will. You have the right to choose whoever you want as your Luna." Jasper's eyes softened, "Only for me." "Then it's settled. Lydia is my Luna." I stood frozen. Later that day, the Alpha King gathered the entire pack. His voice thundered across the hall as he declared Jasper the new Alpha King. The wolves howled in unison, the sound echoing through the night. And then, almost like an afterthought, he announced me, Lydia, as Luna. The pack cheered, but I couldn't help noticing the way their eyes slid toward me. Some curious, some doubtful, some already whispering. Jasper stood tall beside me, radiating pride, as though nothing else mattered now that I was at his side. But inside I felt a hollow ache. After the ceremony, the rumors began again, only this time with a different flavor. "Did you see how the Alpha looked at her? He adores her." "Adore her? Please. She won't even stay in the pack house. What kind of Luna hides at the Edge Land? She may not act like a Luna, but don't forget, she's the savior. If you're sick, you'll still end up crawling to her for healing." And so it went. I became two things at once, the Luna of Shadowfang, and the outcast who rarely lived in the Shadowfang pack. I chose the Edge Land over the Alpha's grand chambers. The air was quieter out there. No whispers behind my back, no suffocating stares. Wolves who needed treatment still found their way to me. I saved them, one after another, the same way I always had. Every time I looked into their relieved faces, I reminded myself, this is who I am. Not a Luna draped in titles, but a healer who mends wounds and pulls others back from the brink of death. Jasper didn't argue. He visited me often, sometimes alone, sometimes with Liam. He tried to make it all feel normal, like a family. But a part of me knew the truth. The pack called me Luna, but I was never fully theirs. I belonged halfway in, halfway out, forever standing between my bond with Jasper and the freedom my soul still craved. I believe that one day, my efforts will give me the strength to refuse being forced into becoming anyone's Luna.